Hi, I'm Gianna Calera, and we are interviewing my mom, Natasha Calera, on leadership and managing a team and all the different aspects of that.
Hi, I'm Natasha Colera. I'm the Director of Member Services for the San Diego City Employees Retirement System. I started my career working for SeaWorld, and I worked my way up, and I learned what it took to actually manage a team effectively. From SeaWorld, I ended up going to the San Diego Zoo, and from there, I went to the city of San Diego. So I've had several different positions with various sizes of teams. The one thing I have learned that is common to all teams is communication. In order to be a great leader, you have to listen to your team. And listening doesn't mean just pretending to listen, but also taking into account what they have to say and making sure that you close the loop and let them know you actually heard what your team has to say.
For our first question, you've come into a lot of positions where you've had to establish yourself with new teams. How do you do that?
Well, I think one of the issues that I've had when I've come into a new team is the team is usually very nervous, right? They are not used to having somebody new come in. They don't know my style. They're worried about how it's going to impact them. And the one thing I do immediately is I meet one-on-one with every single person on my team. And then I establish check ins. I don't care what level position they are, they could be an admin assistant up to a manager. I actually set up one on one meetings with them. They could talk about whatever they want. They could talk about what they did over the weekend. They could talk about what their goals and dreams are, whatever it is. I want to establish trust with them and the ability for them to come to me, not having to go through their supervisor or anyone else, and really share with me any concerns they have, or again, just to establish a relationship with them.
For our next question, what are some strategies and tools that you use in order to effectively lead your team?
So I've talked a little bit about the one-on-one meetings. Again, I try to get a good lay of the land and really understand what I'm dealing with before I then take my team off-site for a development session where we really get into everybody's styles and personalities, and I try to make it a team building opportunity. I do an icebreaker where I pick random questions and everybody goes around and answers a question that shares a little bit about who they are personally. We go through what their strength finders are because a lot of organizations have strength finder tests where people's personalities and strengths and weaknesses are documented, and you can really talk about how you like to be communicated with, what some of your challenges are. And we talked about that at our retreat as well. And then we really come up with what are some common issues that we all face. I usually do a survey before I take my team off site, and they're anonymous. So they can tell me what some of their number one issues are that they want to address as a team, what they like about the team, what they don't like. And then I usually have them pick a couple of words on describing what the team culture is and what they would like it to be. And then I create these word clouds so that everybody can really see what some of the positive elements of the teams are, and then what are some not so positives that we have to look at. And then we discuss as a team how we're going to address that together. And then usually when you give your team the power and empower them to actually come up with suggestions and solutions, then they're vested. They're part of solving the problem. I'm not solving it for them. They are creating the solution themselves.
Next, I really wanted to know if you've encountered any issues being a woman in a management position.
You know, I've actually been very fortunate in the jobs that I've had. I did have a couple of situations. For example, when I was working at one agency, I won't mention the name, but when I was working at one agency, I was brought in and I had a manager who wanted the position of the director. And we had some issues. He felt that he was due the position. He felt he earned the position. He was extremely intelligent, but he lacked the ability to connect with his colleagues. He didn't have the support of his team members, but that didn't discount the fact that he was a valuable member of the team. He was very smart, but he was very upset that he was passed over for the promotion. And he was not quite insubordinate, but wasn't going out of his way to help me out, to do his job. And finally, I had to call him in, and I think at one point when we were talking, he actually rolled his eyes at me, and I called him out on it. I just said, hey, like we're talking about how to communicate, and you can't just roll your eyes. Like you need to, I'm being respectful to you, you need to be respectful to me. And I called him out on it and tried not to take things personally. I think that's really a key, is you can't react personally when you have those kind of situations. But you do need to confront them and call them out calmly and professionally and show them that, look, it's not acceptable, it's not okay. So let's just get past that, and I'm here to support you.
What kind of advice would you give to a woman in the workplace who's looking to go where you have been?
I think one of the things that I would highly recommend is that you present yourself the way you want to be perceived. You want people to notice you for you. You want to be professional. You don't want people to look at you and judge you based on your appearance. So, but they will. They will look at you and judge you based on your appearance. So you really want to dress the part of being a professional and being taken seriously. And I think that's really, really important. I also think it's really important to, be calm and rational in being a man or a woman, right? You want to be calm, you want to be rational, but people tend to judge women who are more emotional because they will sort of attribute that to being female when it's not necessarily the case. So I just really recommend that you try not to take things personally, just to do your job and to go above and beyond. And that's for, again, not just being a woman, but man or woman, going above and beyond and really just trying to do your best at the job that you have.
Have you ever had a situation in which someone treated you differently because you were a woman?
So I have a great story. It's when I was working at the San Diego Zoo, and we went to meet with the Padres. They wanted the San Diego Zoo to advertise in the stadium, and I think they had just opened up Petco Park. And I went with my boss, who I was really close with, and he and I went to the meeting, and I was in charge of sponsorships. But when we got there, the sales director would not even look at me, kept looking at my he was the director of the zoo, kept looking at Mick and would only talk to him. And it was amazing because Mick was great, and when he asked Mick a question, Mick just said, I don't know, you need to talk to her. So that was awesome. But, it really, for me, that was a really great example of how your leaders can support you as a woman, but also, looking at, just because it's sports doesn't mean I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't know what I was talking about. So I ended up handling that negotiation. And, it was a great opportunity to work with them. We had a great billboard. It was, I think at the time we had the pandas coming. So anyway, and also got to go to the World Series, which was also amazing. But, it was an opportunity to, again, show them that I knew my job. I had a boss who supported me. That's also something that's important to have. But that sales director could have lost the deal. But again, it was a great story.
What are some projects you've been involved in that you feel the most proud of?
Well, one of the times actually that was most challenging, and I think the time that I'm most proud of, is when I went to work for the City of San Diego as a director of special events and filming. And I started that job, and literally a month later, COVID hit. So imagine being the director of special events when there was no longer any special events allowed. So I had to basically make up protocols on how we can conduct special events. How do we do queue lines? How do we do farmers markets? There's a lot of events that we started to bring back, but they still had a lot of restrictions. And the U.S. Open in 2021 was one of those events. Literally, I think we had one of the rules changed right before the tournament. And so we really had to try to figure out a way to do this tournament without the crowds that we were expecting and the hospitality that we were expecting. So it hurt our revenue, but again, we were just happy that we were able to actually have fans at the US Open. But again, we had a lot of restrictions, and just working closely with them to make sure that the event went as well as it did was definitely an accomplishment. And then really helping a lot of the smaller events, farmers markets, all the things that were out there that I think were important for the communities to have. It's just really figuring out a way to do that. And I ended up getting an award actually from the Event Coalition, along with one of the county supervisors and the person from Health and Human Services, for everything that we did to help special events operate during COVID, which was a really tough time.
Lastly, do you have any advice for anyone in leadership positions or who wants to be in leadership positions?
Yes, I've had various employees over the years who wanted to get promoted, who wanted to be a leader. And I always question, why do you want to be a leader? Do you want to be in charge? Do you think that means you have power? Do you want to just tell people what to do? Because that is not being a leader. Being a leader means really being there to support your team, to remove obstacles for your team. You work for your employees. And for those of you who want to be a leader because you want to be in charge, especially for those who come out of school, I find a lot of people just expect to be put in certain positions without earning them. Again, you have to really examine, what are your reasons to be a leader? And really, if you're not there to serve your employees and you just want to be there to tell people what to do, you're probably not a true leader.
And actually, lastly, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
I have been in many different positions with many different personalities. And the one thing I always encourage people to do is to make sure that you are working in a field that plays to your strengths, that you love, that you have passion about. Because if you're doing something just for money or for just the prestige, that I would say you will probably never really excel in the way that you, I think, will take pride and be happy in what you're doing. So I think you just want to make sure that you're in a position that plays to your strengths, that leverages your strengths, and again, just listening to others and communicating with others is really the key to success.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you to my mom, who has a really cool office, by the way. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll pass them on to her. Thank you. Bye-bye.